Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Tech in 10, the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs post-game show from the Ruston Daily Leader. I am sports editor Matt Bellinson coming to you after Louisiana Tech's 30-20 win over the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. You heard that correctly. Louisiana Tech wins its first consecutive games since 2020. The Bulldogs enter Conference USA play with a 3-1 record and a lot of momentum. And again, it's 1 week, it's one game. We're going to talk about that. But I think just overall, my overall sentiment when I walked down to the press conference tonight was just like good for this program. Good for these players that they lost so many one-score games last year. Some of these guys have had to endure multiple losing seasons in a row. Obviously, this coaching staff has been through the ringer, is still in a prove-it year. And you come out tonight with the eyes of Ruston on you. I was telling someone pregame, I've covered this program. This is my 4th season now. I can't remember a home environment that really matched this as far as a packed student section. A really good just pregame atmosphere and energy and excitement of like Louisiana Tech football. Like we're winning, we're having fun at the Louisiana Tech football game. Like I think it cannot be overstated that the home environment that has been created here through 3 games, at home, is certainly been an improvement from years past. And obviously winning helps. And I'm sure when they come back home here in a couple weeks after some road games, I would expect this place to be packed once again. But that was just my overall impression, which is good for this program. Good for a program that has been down, has not built momentum, has not strung success together for multiple years now, since there was a previous coaching staff here. That was the last time they did that. So I think it's just good for this program, good for the confidence level of this team. You're going into Conference USA play with the momentum that I thought this team could carry. Again, when I looked at the preseason schedule, I saw a 3-1 and eventually a 5-1 start for this program. I think, and obviously Southern Miss, a much better program than I gave them credit for in the preseason. The transfers that they brought in from Marshall are no joke. So that team's going to go bowling. That's a really good offense, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But just overall, it's just a great moment for Louisiana Tech football. Again, a program that has frankly been the laughingstock of this athletic department for the past couple of years. You have 4 straight losing seasons. You had not earned your way to a bowl game. Your head coach is in a prove-it year. There was just a lot going against you over the last couple of years. A lot of players transferring in and out. Your fan base heads into this year with maybe some apathy, some confusion. Through 4 games, you've done exactly what you're supposed to do. You were 3-1, and you are in the driver's seat to not only make a bowl game, but you're going into the driver's seat to contend for a Conference USA title. Again, I know they still have a lot of league games left ahead of them. They got to go on the road and prove that they can win, road games. It's definitely been a struggle for this program under Sonny Cumbie. But for tonight, for this win over Southern Miss, Louisiana Tech showed that it can prove itself, that it can meet the moment, and I think rise itself, up to expectations. I think, coming into this game, again, a lot was made was, this reminded me a lot of the Middle Tennessee game, last year, where you blow out Middle Tennessee and then you go and think like, we'll take care of New Mexico State, no problem. Our offense is good and ready to go. And then you lose on the road to a 1-win New Mexico State program, and it just completely flatlines whatever you built the previous week. I think that was the biggest thing for me was your offense was so encouraging last week, and your defense just continues to play lights out. And you're thinking, okay, like, can they string this together? Can they finally put together back-to-back wins and really say, like, we have something building here? And again, I don't want to crown them champions yet. I don't want to say, like, okay, this program is fixed. Let's give the coaching staff contract extensions. I'm not saying that. But again, if you're a Louisiana Tech fan, it's been very clear over the last 4 years. Like, they have not won back-to-back games. They have not strung success together well. They have not handled success. And I think it's just important that you're going into league play. You take care of business. You're 3-0 at home, and your playmakers on offensive defense have certainly lived up to the occasion so far. So I think just by and large, my overall takeaway is just good for this program and just good for them to figure out how to string success together, because they've had talent before. They've had guys that can make plays. I don't think talent has necessarily been an issue. There's maybe been a couple, position groups over the last couple years where they could have been better, but by and large, it's just been an execution issue. It's just been a mentality issue. And they come out tonight and they execute from the rip. I tweeted out after the first quarter. It was the best first quarter that I've seen Louisiana Tech play against an FBS opponent in my time covering this team. I mean, Eli Finley just wide open over the seam, over the middle of the field. 70-yard completion on the first play from scrimmage. Blake Baker, I thought did a really nice job, efficiently moving down the field. We'll get into it later. The second half, this offense went ice cold. I think maybe that puts a little bit of a damper on what was a pretty good, night offensively. But again, I'm just super impressed. I think, again, history suggested that Louisiana Tech was not going to be able to pull this off, that they were going to fall flat, because that's what they've done. In the Cindy Cumbie era, they were 0-6 following a win of scoring 30 points or more. And tonight, obviously they matched 30 points after a 49-point win. So I think just by and large, it's just good for this program to finally seize momentum and frankly give your fan base something to latch onto. Like, not just say like, oh, we beat Western Kentucky 12-7. We beat Middle Tennessee 49 points that one time. Like, give us the benefit of the doubt. Like, no, you have to prove that you can stack wins. You have to prove that you're a program that can handle success, that you can make adjustments. And I thought they did that tonight. So that's by and large the biggest takeaway, is that you go into league play with everything that you want in front of you. That's massive for this program. I think maybe individually, I obviously want to highlight Eli Finley again, 150-something, receiving yards on 5 catches. Just did a really good job just getting open tonight, making a couple, contested catches, in the second half. I thought he just did a really good job of just being the playmaker that this offense, and this coaching staff, needs him to be. For this offense to have success. Again, I thought Blake Baker, played pretty well tonight. What he finished with passing wise, 239 passing yards, 71% completion rate. No touchdowns though. So I think the passing game, you would have liked to, obviously get a passing score in there. Obviously Eli on the first play from scrimmage was 1 yard away from getting in. So you were close there. But, again, I thought Blake just did a really good job again tonight, taking care of the football, moving the ball down the field. I thought he did a really good job commanding the pocket, especially when it kind of collapsed. He took a couple hits here and there, but he definitely advanced the ball when he needed to, got the ball to his back. So I thought a little bit better than we saw against New Mexico State. So I think individually, offensively, you got to be really encouraged that Blake Baker continues to take a step forward in the quarterback room. And I think Eli Finley, again, I'm not saying he needs to, have 150 receiving yards every single week, but if he can be a weapon for this team on third down, if he can make easy completions, if he can, be a matchup problem in the red zone, I think this offense can add another dimension, because so far, the wide receiver room, Devin Gandy made a nice catch tonight, but by and large, this wide receiver room is still kind of, There's not really anyone standing out week to week. Again, Devin Gandy is maybe emerging into that player, but again, when you have less than 3 catches on a night, like, it's kind of hard for me to say like, yes, you are without a doubt this team's number one playmaker. So I think there's still a little bit more room to go, I think, offensively. But again, I was encouraged to see Eli after a rough last 2 weeks. Really get involved and obviously be highlighted in this offense. If you're gonna say that you want him to be the best tight end in the conference, like, you have to make him a part of your offense. And so I was certainly encouraged to see that tonight. Obviously defensively, there really isn't much more you have to say at this point. They've allowed 6 touchdowns through 4 games. That's pretty incredible. Obviously they were 20 seconds away from obviously the garbage time touchdown there at the end, from allowing just 5 touchdowns through 4 games. Obviously a defensive score in every single home game this year. They've done a really good job, I think, of just figuring out ways to make plays on the ball, to score when they need to get the stops that they need to defensively. I think they've done a really good job of just kind of taking offenses out of their rhythm. Braylon Braxton again tonight did a really good job. I think just threatening downfield. You definitely saw their defensive backs kind of get cooked at times. I think what Southern Miss finished with, 514 yards of total offense, and again, they only scored 20 points, but you give up 514 yards. That was not a good day at the office defensively. Again, you have the pick 6 by Colby Fields. He's again ascending as one of the best playmakers in the group of 5, and frankly in the country. He just has a nose for the football. He's just a veteran, hard-nosed football player, and so I think it's just really awesome to see this defense that, for so long, for someone that's covered this program for 4 years, like, there's been so many offseason narratives and like fall camp things that they're like, oh, we're going to do this for sure in the season, like, and this is what we're buying into. And then like you're halfway through the season, and it's like, oh, I guess you guys just gave up on that, or I guess like no one really bought into that mentality. I heard from fall camp practice number 1, from Luke Olson, from this defensive leadership, that they wanted to take it. The take it mentality. They, for as good as this defense was last year in total defense and red zone defense and rushing defense, they really did not take the football away. They only had 5 interceptions last year, a couple fumble recoveries. Like, they did not create extra opportunities for this offense. and they have 6 interceptions through 4 games. They've already surpassed last year's total, and obviously the pick 6 tonight, for the touchdown. They have 3 defensive touchdowns through 4 games. Like, again, it's just super impressive what they're doing. Again, it's probably not sustainable through 12 games. I don't think you're going to have a defensive touchdown through every single one. But again, this linebacking core just continues to make plays. The defensive line, I still don't really see a ton of sack production, sack pressure on the quarterback. I thought Braxton was just really mobile tonight, super athletic. He kind of slipped out of a couple sacks here and there, but I still really want to see a little bit better pass rush. I think just kind of bring their nose to the football and just kind of sack some quarterbacks and kind of get offenses off schedule. I think that's a huge thing that this defense needs to continue to do, because by and large, they're doing a really good job, I think, in pretty much every other category. So again, defensively, you allow 20 points technically. It was really 13. And obviously, the fourth down stand at the goal line. If they don't stop them there, it's a 30-17 game with pretty much a whole quarter left. So who knows what could have happened there. So again, just another really awesome moment for this defense. I think people, if you're not paying attention at the national level, you're going to have to start to eventually, just with what they're doing week after week. And I think I'm just really curious to see if they can just continue to keep this production going, because if they do, they're going to go down as one of the best defenses, not only in Louisiana Tech history, but they might go down as one of the better group of 5 defenses that we've seen. So again, it was just super encouraging to see this program just meet the moment. Defensively, offensively, and obviously, and in the punting game too, I thought John Chance had a couple really booming punts. I think he had multiple 50-yard punts tonight. So it was just 3-way football. That's how good teams win. It's not one team carries the other. Good teams are supposed to have balance. You're supposed to be able to build off each other. And so I think, for as encouraging as the win was, and it definitely was, this program has everything it wants in front of it. You played a really bad second half offensively. 7 straight punts. You had less than 70 yards of offense in the second half. They really stopped running the ball effectively. Very conservative passing attack. I think maybe part of it was playing not to lose, but again, with the defense that you have, I don't really know why you're not maybe being a little bit more aggressive in a game that you had to win. So I guess for as encouraging as the win was, I think if you're a Tech fan going into conference play, you could maybe spin it and say, man, this offense still is very hot and cold. They'll have the explosive plays and they'll score in bunches, and then they just go ice cold and they can't figure anything out. So, I think, again, offensively, you'll take the win. You scored 30 points tonight. That's not a bad day. But again, when you punt on 7 straight drives and you allow Southern Miss to hang around, I think, I'm thinking back to obviously the Southeastern game and obviously here tonight, where you have opportunities to just put opponents away. You have opportunities to just say, we are officially closing this game for business. You have no shot of winning this game. Again, if Southern Miss converts on that 4th and goal, it's a 30-17 game, and the way your offense was playing, who knows how that would have gone. So again, I think this offense has a lot of work to do. I think as far as consistency, I think it's been really good to see the quarterback play and the passing game really emerge after some really rough first 2 games. But overall, I think if this offense can find a consistent running game, find a balance of backs that they can go to, and then mix in some aggressive downfield passing, I think this offense has the pieces to make some noise in Conference USA. We know what this defense is going to do. I think this offense, if they can prove that they can score every single quarter, if they can put drives together to keep the ball away from the opponent, I think Louisiana Tech is in business to do something really special this year. So, again, I'm not going to crown them Conference USA champions. They're not going to win 10 games this year, but I'm just really encouraged to see Louisiana Tech finally has something to give its fan base to chew on, to say pay attention. We are putting something together that matters, that can sustain itself. And I think for a fan base and for a program that has been desperate to be relevant, desperate to say we're back and pay attention to us and there's something building here. They head into league play with something to pay attention to. So that's going to do it for this edition of Tech in 10. Again, Louisiana Tech beats Southern Miss 30-20 to improve to 3-1 overall, 3-0 at home. 3-0 at home for the first time since 2019, I might add. And that's going to do it for this edition of Tech in 10. Thanks, y'all, for listening. Have a good one.